the deeper answer, just a little bit, we'll touch on the surface. All of us, we have a start date and an expiry date. What do you do in between will make your life either a life worth living or a life that is just passing. Because you hear about so many people who work in certain companies or in the public sector, and they are very proud. They will tell you, I have 30 years of experience. 30 years of experience of doing what? The same thing over and over and over and again. I think any professional should reinvent themselves every 7 years. You need to work on that gradually. So Mohammed 7 years ago was totally different. Hopefully 7 years from now, I'll be totally different. And you should always reinvent yourself.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode in Master More Podcast. 23 episodes so far we had published, and 23 is something special to me, especially when some famous players they were my idols, were 23, such as Beckham, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan. And for this specific reason, I was thinking who was the best fit guest in order to fit this kind of theoretical of my perspective. And don't mind me when I say perspective. Today, my guest is award-winning speaker, author, adventurer, skydiver. Actually, I was thinking what is the things to describe him, and I was lost of the things he's making. Nomad 1973, Mohamed Isa, is in the house. Welcome to
Thank
the
you
show.
so much.
Now, people will assuming that obviously one of the key things that you have done and writing in the thumbnail about you, what makes you think that the audience should stay in this episode and listen from
They
you?
should stay in this episode because of a simple reason. I will not tell them to close their eyes and imagine themselves as lions and they'll become lions. I'll give you advice that's practical, pragmatic, and that works.
Wow, what a way to keep it as concise as possible. Mohamed Isa, it's real honor and a pleasure to have you in the podcast. I really value your time and coming here to the podcast and giving you from my time. And I know how currency is your time is. So thank you for that.
You're most welcome.
So let's dig in directly to the...
Please.
The way you say please, as if like I'm ready for you more. Let's go. I heard on your way prior to this shooting episode that our mutual friend Mohamed Shukri was there, and he was praising about your personality and your adventures and the way you do things way better than people. So first of all, I want to dive into the perspective of someone who were in the career ladder as a CFO, and after 20 years of experience, you left that and started from scratch. Could you please elaborate more on that?
All right. First of all, Mohamed Shukri is a good friend of mine. He's a brother. We have known each other since 2005, almost 20 years very soon. And in June 2025, it will be 20 years of brotherhood and friendship. That's one. The second part of your question, leaving the corporate world and doing what I'm doing today. When people ask me what do you do, I say three things. I speak, I write, I travel. That's what I do. Now, this is a big leap from being a CFO for a big company at that time, commanding a good salary, getting all the other perks executive gets. But to me, if I'm not challenged in a place or a location or in a job, that's not my place to be. All right? So one of the reasons that I left my job is that I was not challenged enough. I knew I could do more and better, but that job was not any more good for me.
What do you mean? When you said it's not good for you, you just said that there's a perks, there's salaries, there is X, Y, Z. Do you feel because you didn't feel to work for somebody and you wanted to do it yourself? What was the rationale really to leave that?
I don't mind working for other people and having bosses above me. If they are good bosses and they are inspirational bosses and they will give me the opportunities to grow and do bigger things, I worked with different bosses that I didn't want to leave, and bosses I wanted to leave on the spot. But sometimes you need to be patient to make critical decisions like leaving your job. So
Mm.
it's not about whether I wanted to be an employee or not. It's about what are you doing in that job? What are the future prospect of that job? You need to consider everything before you make this kind of decision.
And when you make that decision, do you regret it now after that long time? I believe like almost 2 decades now from there.
Now I'll finish not 2 decades. You're making me very old. I'll finish my ninth anniversary
Okay.
in December 4th this year. So 9 years of self-employment, and I couldn't be more happy.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the challenges that when you first left the corporate world you had felt?
I was not afraid. I was not worried because I have relationship capital. I have developed relationships everywhere in Bahrain and beyond. I have my knowledge. I have my experience. So when you have that, no one can take away these things from you. So whether you're in a job or not in a job, an official job, because I'll tell you something. I work more than what other people work, the employed people. My day starts at 5. At 5, I'll be having my breakfast. It's not a fancy breakfast, but it does the job. I'll be having Greek yogurt with nuts, a banana, and Americano. That's it. And while I'm doing this, I'm reading the Financial Times, I'm reading the Wall Street Journal, and then I go to other tasks. I work out my social media posting and other things. I read book summaries. Every 24 book summary, I change the subject. Now I'm reading the second round of sales. I'm reading leadership summaries all the time because this is what I do for my speeches. So what I do is much, much more than what regular people do. I'm just giving you the first 3 hours. I'm not giving you the rest of the day.
Yeah, I can tell how you dedicated you are, and especially when someone like you, especially when it's come to your rationals behind leaving these kind of things, and not to mention what you have done, especially when I have watched one of your previous clips where you mention that due to a challenge with your friend, you choose to do an investor relation book, and it
Yes,
turns out
yes,
to be your first book out
absolutely,
of challenge.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it wasn't out of passion for the subject.
Yeah, I used to do that subject in my job. I was considered as a pioneer in that field in Bahrain because I'll tell you something, and I'm not saying this. If someone wants to corroborate what I'm saying tonight, they should go and see the press. They should go and see the newspapers at that time. We were doing things, and other companies were copying what we were doing. We were setting the best practices when it comes to investor relations in Bahrain. Although we did not have the budget, we did not have a big team, we were doing that. So I like to be challenged, and I accept any challenge that comes my way. And to give a name and to just give a shout of thanks to that person who challenged me. His name is Jassim Safran from Kuwait. Thank you, Jassim. That challenge really changed my life, and I'll tell you how. The dissertation got a distinction. I got a distinction on that dissertation, a review of investor relations practices in Bahrain, and I turned that into a book. That itself and is another story. And when I turned that book and the dissertation into the book, the dean of the business school of University of Hull invited me to become a member of the International Advisory Committee.
All right.
So I received an official letter from the dean, join us for this committee, and I joined. So that's one thing that I got out of that book, and I got so many other things. Basically, if I just focus on writing, because of that book, today I have 19 other books.
Correct. And I believe this is one book away from your ultimate goal that you said before that within 2020 you want to have published 20 books.
Yeah, yes, 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 yes.
I have seen actually a couple from your clips, and that's why I have a rationality of asking you this question. And I was amazed actually. What makes you, first of all, leaving the corporate world and then going to writing and being a speaker and then travel around and what are the things that motivate you to start all of that?
All right. Today I was giving a talk in one of the universities in Bahrain, and part of my talk is I give out the postcards. Give me the other postcard I gave you, not this one, the other one, if you don't mind. Yeah,
This postcard.
not this. Something this size. Yeah, this size. Yeah.
Give me a lot of them actually
Yes,
today.
thank you, thank you. So
Something.
this is a postcard I printed, I designed, I printed last year, and this can be a life changing card. So whenever I give my Everest speech, I will be given cards like this to the entire audience.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I will tell them the story about this card. It has this question: what's your Everest? So Everest is a mountain, but Everest could be a goal as well. So if you're a company, what's your Everest? If you're an individual or professional, what's your Everest? What do you want to achieve? So I give out these cards to everyone in the audience. And I tell them this story that I have forgotten for so many years, but somehow last year I remember the story. At that time I was living in Jeddah, and this is where I joined Toastmaster, thinking that it's good to pass time. But then I discovered Toastmaster is much, much more than passing time in Jeddah. So we had a guest. He was an engineer. He graduated from KFUPM, King Fahd Petroleum and Mineral University in the Eastern Province. And it's one of the toughest universities, not in the Gulf, in the entire world.
Wow.
So if you graduate from that university, you must be very good. So this gentleman, he gave us this speech. He said when he joined university, KFUPM, on the first day, he went to the registration office. He asked for a graduation application. Now you are wondering, it's day one and he's asking for application of graduation. It's time for a break.
Go ahead.
So what happened? He filled the application from day one. He signed it. Yeah. Another cough. It's okay. Bear with me.
It's okay. Take your time.
So he took the application. He filled it. He signed it. The only place he didn't mark was the date. He kept it on a cabinet. He was looking at it every day. Every day. He'll wake up and he'll see the application. And that was his motivation. Every day he'll see the application and he thinks to himself, I need to get this. So on the final day of examinations, he finished the exams. He took the application from the cabinet. He put the date and he went back to the registration office and said to them, please start processing my application. Yeah. So that was very inspiring to me. Because sometimes if you don't have a goal, if it's not written, you will forget about it. You'll not be motivated about it. So this card has this question, what's your Everest? But on the other side, it has certain fill in the blanks. What's your Everest? You need to write, what's your Everest? How will you achieve your Everest? And then there is a box over here. This box, you need to sign to show your commitment. Because many people, millions of people, every year, they will say, this year I'm going to lose 5 kg. Come December, they gain 15 kg. Yeah? So this is not
reverse psychology.
Yeah, this is not commitment. But when you sign, it's commitment. And guess what?
I agree.
If you exchange this card with someone else and you play accountability partners, say, Mohamed, I'll follow up with you, you follow up with me. Okay? So every month, how is it going? So now, because there is a peer pressure, you'll be shy not to say, nothing, I didn't do anything. No, when you have that, it becomes more mobilized. You want to do it because now you know someone is monitoring you. But if you say you will lose weight, it's only between you and God, no one knows about it.
Correct.
Yeah?
Correct.
So this is a card I have designed to help my audience to achieve greater things and hopefully climb their own Everest. Today, at this university, you can tell who's serious and who's not. There was an Indian gentleman. I saw that he was filling the card. And he came to me and he said, "This is my card." I said, "What do you want to achieve?" He said, "I want to have a PhD from UCLA in the US." And he signed it. So now that's a serious person. So we can take this card into so many directions in our talk. Sometimes you need to be creative to convey a message, to emphasize a message as a speaker. And this is one way to influence others. When you give them this idea, write it on this card and follow up with someone else, exchange cards. That's how you achieve. That's how you climb in life, whether in personal life or in corporate. So if I were staying in my job until today, you will not have seen any of what I gave you tonight.
I agree 100%. Now, what is the things that makes you build this one? Because I don't want to, I don't want to just come up with something, because I'm not sure, but what I want to say is, I think I know where you're coming from, but I want to know from your perspective.
Very simple. In my slides, I asked the audience twice, at the beginning and at the end, what's your Everest? So to complement this message, I'm giving them this card so that they can take it with them, they can fill it. And at one company in Kuwait, the CEO was sitting in the audience and he said, "I want everyone to fill this card. I want to see it tonight." So it gives you that pressure, positive pressure, not negative, positive. Now, when you know the CEO will see your card, are you going to write anything? For example, I will climb Jabal al-Dukhan. No, that's not an Everest. It's a small mountain, small goal. If you are showing something to your boss, it has to be something worthwhile.
Correct.
So if you're an employee, we're not paying you this salary and giving you all these perks for doing this little job. Okay? So this helps in motivating people to do much more in their lives.
I agree. Now, is it because, like, thinking end of mind, just like Stephen Covey says in his books, is it the same rationale which makes you choosing your Everest? Because Everest is a huge or humongous mountains, one of the humongous mountains in the world. So is that the rationale why you design it in a way to think about the end goal rather than
any human
step
being,
one?
any human being who doesn't have a goal, he's living a meaningless life. So what is this life if you're not having a goal? You should have a goal. If you don't have a goal, you're just wandering around. You should have a goal. Any human being should have a proper goal. I know they teach this all over the place, having a SMART goal, specific, measurable, time-bound, and all of these things. But if you're a human being and you don't have a goal, what are you doing? I'll tell you something. We had something with us in university, someone with us in university, and I asked him, "What's the plan after university?" He said, "I don't know. I'll sit at home for 6 months and sit up and think about it." Come on, you cannot do this. You cannot do this. You should have a plan. When you enter university and you chose a major, you should have a plan. You should not say, "I'll graduate." Think about it for 6 months. You're wasting 6 months of your life. Okay, if you're taking a sabbatical, you're traveling around the world, that's something I can accept.
Gap year, for example, or something like
but
that.
But just to say I'm thinking about what to do next, no, that's too bad.
I really like how you put it through, but through your experience as giving a speech note, and we'll dive into the books, but what makes you think about conveying your perspective to them is the best way possible? Because it's something might work for you, might not for others. So what makes you think that your perception will be beneficial for others when you have a similar interaction with them?
It all boils down to personal experiences and storytelling. If I speak from my experience, I will feel the audience will feel that I'm more credible. That's very important. For example, let's say I drive a Toyota Cressida, all right? And you are thinking of buying a Lamborghini. Will you come and ask me about my opinion? Whether you buy a Lamborghini or not? I own a Cressida. Will you come and ask me what do you think? Should I buy a Lamborghini? Does it
No,
make
because
sense?
it
Does it
doesn't
make
make
sense?
any sense
No,
because
because I didn't own a Lamborghini,
correct.
and I don't know how it feels to own a Lamborghini. I don't know how much it costs. I don't know what's the maintenance cost. But now, if you see me driving a Lamborghini, and maybe I'm just parking next to a hotel or some other place, and you see me disembarking from the Lamborghini and said, "Excuse me, sir, I'm thinking about buying a Lamborghini. What do you think?" And then I say, "Okay, this is what I think. Should go for it." All right. But if I don't have a Lamborghini, you shouldn't be asking me that question. So that's one thing, personal experiences. The other thing, storytelling. Storytelling. I'll tell you something. Depending on the audience, sometimes I will use these 4 slides only. 4 slides. I will come. Of course, they would have introduced me to the audience, but then I'll have my own introduction. So I'll show them all the logos of all the big companies I spoke with, and I'll tell them this is what I do. And then I will show them the book covers. I'll show them the best selling books on Amazon. And then I'll show them a picture of me jumping from an airplane. And this is what I said in the beginning. I speak, I write, I travel. And then the audience will be feeling, wow, what a life. This is life, man. We're wasting our lives in our jobs. But then I show them the 4th slide. And I tell them, now this is the most important slide. More important than the first 3 that you have seen. And I show them my grandfather's house. And I talk about it. And how small it is. And how we were sharing the house between my dad and my uncle. How many rooms and all. It's a tiny house. And then I give them this message. It's not about where you start. It's about where you finish. Now, if I tell them this statement alone, without a story, it will not be meaningful. It will not resonate with them. But now they saw where I am today and then where I came from. Now, so this is the real thing. This is the real thing because I'm giving them an insight into my life, where I came from. You cannot just come to the audience and say, you need to think about your future, you need to do this and that. No, the audience should feel that you are sincere, authentic, and you have the right experience to help them.
Right. Speaking of this and how you cater your speeches to every audience, and I can tell from the wealth of experience you've got from different companies, speaking of a lot of topics that you cover from leadership, engagement, employee engagement, and customer service. That's one of your key pillars, as I have come to know that. But you, as Mohammed, what is the philosophy of developing your own storytelling?
I was a joke teller all my life.
Mm.
I have been telling jokes all the time, and jokes are all about stories. So I have developed this style of speaking to other people, and I enjoy it. They enjoy it because when you tell a story, you engage people, you draw them to you, and not only that, if there is a humor inside the story, they laugh without feeling that you're going to tell a punchline or something. Because if you go and tell people, I'll tell you a joke, they are looking for the punchline. But when you tell stories, they engage and they are entertained and they are inspired. And as a bonus, they laugh. They laugh at times. So storytelling is part of me. I have been telling stories for a long time. And when you tell a story, it's very simple. You need to tell the time, location, characters. You need to have conversations, dialogue. You should not be saying he told me and I told him. No, let the characters talk to each other. And if you don't have conflict between the characters, between the characters and maybe the situation they are in, if there is no conflict, people will not be drawn to your story. And ultimately, you need to have a message. You should not be telling a story for the sake of telling a story. So this is very simple.
It's very simple for you because for the benefit of the guests that they might struggling with storytelling, and this is one of the, and correct me if I'm wrong. How important, in your opinion, storytelling?
Okay, let's do this experiment on you.
All right, let's go.
Okay, let's do this experiment on you. And this is I have written this story before.
Okay.
But this time it will be recorded on video, and
Nice.
I'll send it to the hero of the story. He'll hate me for this. So it's the summer of 1998, and we were having a gathering, myself and 3 other friends, Nawaf, Abdurrahman, Talal. We were in East Rifa, and we were sitting around a table like this. That night we didn't have dinner. We had fruit, we had strawberries, we had grapes, we had apples, we had other things. We had nuts, we had pistachio, almonds, walnuts, and we had, of course, the Arabic coffee and the tea. What we were having as a main course, we were telling jokes. So you tell a joke, I tell a joke, and he tells a joke, and he tells a joke. And we were staying there from 7:30 until 3:30 in the morning, telling jokes. So around midnight, Talal stood up and said, Mohamed, I challenge you for a push-up challenge. I looked at him and said, what's wrong with you? It's 12 o'clock. What push-up challenge you want? You know, we're having fun. I said, no. Now, before I tell you more about the story, the relationship between me and Talal is like Tom and Jerry. I always beat him. So that night, he thought, because he had Talal, he had Abdurrahman, and he had Nawaf sitting with us, if he beats me to push-ups, he has 2 witnesses, right? So then he can tell everyone about it. So what I did, I said, no, man, just forget this. And you know, there is a statement we say in Arabic, it makes everyone do whatever you want them to do. He told me, be a man. When he said, be a man, I said, okay, you go first. And Talal made a miscalculation that night because he was in the gym on that day and he was exercising his shoulders and triceps. So his arms were finished. So he only could do 6 push-ups.
6 push-ups?
Yes, only 6 push-ups. So I went on the floor and I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I stopped. I beat him. Finish. 7 is more than 6. So what's the moral of the story? Never underestimate your competition. Very simple. Now you can tell this story, but if I go to the audience and say, remember this always, never ever underestimate your competition. There's nothing. They cannot remember this. But when they hear the story between me and my friends, they will remember it for a long time. Now let me test your knowledge. In which year this happened? I'm putting you on the spot now.
You did put me on the spot. I think you said 2006.
No, it was 1998.
1998.
Okay.
Wow.
In which area in Bahrain?
East Rifa.
That's correct. Did we have dinner that night?
No.
What did we have?
Fruit, strawberry, walnuts.
Okay.
And yeah, you didn't.
What about the drinks?
You didn't mention drinks.
No, I mentioned drinks.
Did you?
Yeah, Arabic coffee and tea.
Arabic coffee.
No, I said Arabic coffee and tea. You can watch this later. All right. And okay, what are the? Who were there in this story? How many people?
3. Talal, not Naif. Talal Abdul Aziz.
No, Abdurrahman.
Abdurrahman. Yeah, close enough.
Nawaf.
Nawaf.
Okay, and myself, so forth. I mentioned 2 characters, cartoon characters.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. Okay. And how many push-ups did Talal do?
He did 6. You did 7.
Okay. What was the message?
The moral of the story is never underestimate your competitor.
So that's the beauty of storytelling and the power. People remember these little things. You heard it for the first time, right?
Yes.
I have never given this story to you before.
On camera. And you literally put me in the spot because I was focusing on that spot. I'm trying to understand, first of all, and let me be very, very honest. I was trying to understand what you're trying to do. So he's trying to trick me, yeah? But I never thought you're gonna give me a questions from that story. But at least I was able
Yeah,
to answer.
you made
Maybe
Abdurrahman.
60.
You made Abdurrahman Abdulaziz.
Team up. You guys, I'm with you guys. He beat me tonight in front of camera, in my podcast, in the show.
Yeah,
But
so-
what a way. Really, I really loved how you put it through. It really shows your credibility and your experience when it's come to this. 100%.
I'll tell you something. People always think you have to have a big story. Something big happened. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just a story. It's just a story just to make a point, and that's it. If you're a speaker, you're just trying to make a point to the other side, the audience.
Wow. Wow. No one should underestimate Mo, by the way.
Thank you.
I really, I'm always triggered to have, when it's come, especially with me in the podcast, I'm always really looking for someone who add value to the podcast, someone who's authentic, someone who have a story to tell. And through your experience and the way you started your career and where you end up right now, from leaving corporate world as top ranks and then start your journey in the writing books, and then you started with the adventurers and stuff like that. So what are the most important life lessons you learned throughout your experiences?
I will not say the I have been always patient, resilient. All right, that's very important if you want to succeed in any job, in any profession, in any business. You need to be patient. Things don't happen overnight. Things don't happen overnight. And when I wanted to leave the corporate, I was preparing for myself for that. It's not that I said, okay, I'm resigning, and then be like my friend, sit home and think for 6 months what to do. No, you should have a plan and go with the plan, implement it. And maybe your plan will not work. So let's say today, I'm broke, I don't have money, I cannot find speaking engagements, I cannot deliver workshops here and there. What do I do? Do I quit? Or do I push further? Depends on the person. It depends on the person. Some people will just give up very quickly. Some people will remain. So it's all about the upbringing of the person himself or herself.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had a rough childhood. You see this mark?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Around there.
I don't want to talk about it.
Maybe the audience want to listen about it. Like, is
I
it like
told you.
bad memory?
No, it doesn't bring bad memories, but I'm telling you, we had a rough childhood. For example, today, when my children, they go to school, they have food, they have everything, and they are studying in private school. We didn't have anything of this. We were always hungry in school. No pocket money, nothing. Okay? We walked to the school. Whether it's winter, whether it's summer, we don't have these luxuries in life, There is one type of cheese they sell. It's called Atlantis cheese. It's a white cheese. Back in the days, if we are having dinner, if we are having this cheese with the regular bread, for us, this is like a festival. So I come from this background. Not too much food. And not too much luxuries. Even necessities were not there at times. Yeah. So rough childhood, and many people know me as a CFO, but my first job was working as a cleaner in an investment bank. So when we had the summer holiday before the start of the university, I worked as a cleaner, and it was from 6 until 10 in the evening. I don't mind, At the end of the day, you need to be ready to take whatever opportunities you have. So that's my first start. And I'll tell you what. 2 weeks ago, the NVIDIA CEO, I cannot remember his name. He's a multi-billionaire. His net worth is more than $100 billion. In his LinkedIn profile, the first job he had, he was a cleaner. So he's proud of it. Now he's a CEO of NVIDIA. And this company is valued in the trillions of dollars. So it doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is where you finish.
Exactly. I can totally understand and resonate with what you said, especially with the lots of stories that's been told, especially in the world of football, boxing, and a lot of movie theaters. Lots of probably a lot of them had come from very, very poor
And
backgrounds.
as I said, I'm proud for it. I'm thankful for it because this is what a start. What a start. So no matter what happens in my life, I'm never going to that start. I'm always ahead of this start. And the other thing is, it gives you inspiration. You sit with yourself and reflect. Yeah, I came a long way. And I'll tell you what, I had this idea maybe now for 11 years. I have a book cover ready, but I never worked on the book. I don't know when I'll write or start writing it. It's called How I Went From Sweeping to Speaking. Very powerful title. And it will be a very powerful story to tell.
I can tell. Now, speaking of this rough childhood and where we started, how this really impact in a certain, yeah, like how this really impact your upbringing and how you move from jobs, how this really impact you? Is it like always to push you further, or
First of all, the first thing is I thought to myself, I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. I don't want this. I don't want my children to live that. So that was the first thing I decided. I don't want that. So this means you need to have work hard. You need to work hard. In my studies, I thought I must get a scholarship so that I go to university. And in university, I don't want to be just any other graduate. I wanted to be an exceptional graduate. So when I was in university, I was making connections everywhere. My peers, people who are older than me, people who are younger than me, the professors, the doctors, the teaching staff, people in the admin in the university. I remember this. Now, students in University of Bahrain, they are very lucky. They can go online and register.
yeah?
In our times, no, you have to stand in the line.
Mm,
You have to
correct.
stand in the line so that you get to the registrar to change or register for courses. I cannot remember who, but I managed to get a VIP card for registration. So when people were standing, I just bypass them and go to the front and show them my VIP card, and they'll just do whatever I want. Don't tell me who and how. I don't remember. I remember having this card, small card, laminated VIP. So when the staff they see this, they treat you as a VIP.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And you get this because you were a student?
No, I don't know. I got to know someone, and he just fixed me. He gave me that
Okay.
card. I can't remember who.
But don't you think you deserve that?
Well, I deserved it because I worked for it.
Exactly. That's what I'm
See,
saying.
there is this concept is the feeling of entitlement. You feel I am entitled to get this because I have a bachelor degree. I should have a job that pays me 1,000 dinars. That's entitlement mentality, and this is one of the biggest issues with the current generation. They feel they are entitled. We are very smart. We should be getting better things. And there is the other side, which you earn. You earn what you want by working hard, by cultivating relationships, by being street smart. If you have a GPA of 4 out of 4 and you don't know how to communicate with people, how to handle things, that GPA will not do you so much good.
I agree.
You need to be street smart.
I agree. And also, not to mention that, is that the ability of showcase your ability,
Of
because
course.
it's not that, hey, this is the book, I save all little information in it, I can just go and copy and paste it in the exam, or reality that they cannot really deal with the outsider.
No. It's life. Life is more than academic studies. You need to, especially connections. How do you behave? They talk about IQ. They talk about EQ. Now they are talking about SQ. IQ is IQ. Everyone knows IQ. EQ, emotional intelligence, how you deal with other individual. And social intelligence, how you deal with the society around you.
Right.
How do you get things out of a society? How do you maneuver the society? So they don't teach this in the universities. You need to get it on your own. One of the things that made me realize these things early on in my life is I used to read a lot. I remember in high school, I used to read psychology books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll go to the National Library and I buy small books, 1 dinar, 1.5. I didn't have money that time. And I'll read these books and try to implement them.
And why you choose psychology?
Because psychology is very important. If you're a leader and you don't know psychology, you cannot lead. Because when you are a leader, you're dealing with human beings. And human beings are all about emotions and psychology. So if you don't know psychology, how will you lead people? You can lead people by forcing them. Come here, do this, do that. But people don't like that, being told what to do. We need to inspire them. For example, I think I'm telling this for the first time on camera. We had a project in our company and we were implementing an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System. My team was complaining because they used to feed one system and feed the new system at the same time. And the idea is you compare the outcome of the two systems for some time. And then when you see everything is okay, you abandon the old system and you go with the new system. So my team were complaining, oh, this is too much work. And I was telling them this. This will be very good for your CV. When people see that you have implemented an ERP, they'll respect you more. And they say, okay. And they'll go and do it. Or I could take this stance and say, okay, I know you're overloaded, but you need to do this. There's no other choice. Whether you like it or not, you need to do this. We're paying you a salary. You need to do this. How will they feel?
Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Although the example and the story you put through is so amazing, but the feeling I get out of it, because I was imagining, I will never mention who, but then I imagine the way ex-bosses, I would say, treated me. I can totally relate to what you said. Although the example is so pure and is so true, at the same time, I get this emotion as if it happened just yesterday. And exactly just like you said.
Yeah, because how you deal with people around you will determine whether not only they like you or not, whether they respect you or not. I have many examples. A boss will leave a company, then his subordinate will meet him in a mall or somewhere, in a wedding. They will not go and say hello to him. They will avoid him. So it's up to you. Recently, and I want to acknowledge and recognize and celebrate the life of this gentleman, we lost someone who was working with us. He was a driver, a Bahraini driver. His name is Maher Abdullah. And when he died, although he left the company, everyone wanted to know what happened to him. Everyone wanted to go to the procession for the funeral and everything, and went to give condolences to his family. And they were praying for him, although he was a driver. But he had good relationships with everyone. Some other people will die and they say, the hell with him. So that's the difference. How you deal with people will make them not only like you or not, respect you or not, cherish their memories or not.
In your words, what makes the leaders of today's not meeting these standards, which is known for ages, yet it's still in our world, there still exists? Okay,
I'll tell you something. I read in one of the leadership books about a new concept. A very nice concept. What's a CEO? When I tell you what's a CEO, what's the title?
Chief Executive Officer?
Yeah, that's what we know. But this author was saying it should not be that. It should be Chief Empathy Officer. So you show empathy to the employees. You show empathy to the peers you have. And when you show empathy, when you show that you care for your employees, they will care. If you don't care, they will not. As simple as that. People need to be more human. We forgot how to be human. We think if we are leaders, if we are CEOs, general managers, or managing directors, we should be sitting in the office, in our big, nice office, and just give orders to the rest of the company. That doesn't work. People who are successful, CEOs who are successful, you see them, they walk around. They walk around. They talk to people. They know their families. They know if they had a newborn, they will congratulate them. They will appreciate them. A friend of mine, his name is Sayyid Ali Al-Sharaf. He worked with someone called James Krakow. He was the CEO of the First Leasing Bank. This bank has been acquired by some other bank, so that's why you don't see it. So James Krakow was an American CEO, and he was top-notch CEO. Imagine the holy month of Ramadan is coming. He will go himself. He will go to one of the luxury dates shop, Batil, you know Batil. He will buy so many small Batil boxes, and he will go in the evening, and he'll distribute the dates on the desk of everyone with a note. Ramadan Kareem, James. Not asking the secretary to do all of this. He will do it himself. So if you were working for James, would you like James or not?
100%.
Yeah. So that's it. Humanity. Be a human.
And also maybe cultural intelligence as well to add to that.
Well, he's an experienced CEO, you know.
Yeah.
We need to do things that will make our employees closer to us.
Exactly.
Not push them away.
Exactly, because
So you don't want you call your employee or your team member, and I see your name on the phone ID, and say, oh, I don't know what he wants. Oh, I don't know. You want people to be excited. Oh, hello, James. What can I do for you today?
What can I do for you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. I totally relate with this. I totally resonate with what you said. And especially when someone is, like you said, is James. So I reckon he is not an Arabic person. And maybe
We
he's
have good Arabic leaders, don't get me wrong.
No. But
Yeah.
from the name, I can tell he is for example, English or something like that. But he understood the importance of Ramadan for Muslims, and he wanted to congratulate them in that way. And that's why I said the cultural intelligence, because it shows a huge respect.
Absolutely.
So it's also on the line of how to understand how to take employee engagement to another level.
Of course.
Now,
Of course.
one of the things that you are very expert in, or one of the subject matter expert that you are in, is in employee engagement. So it's also in line with the leadership. It's also in line with what you have just said, meeting and let the employee really go above and beyond what they do.
Yeah, above and beyond, yes.
Yeah. So if I will reflect on this, similarly, I can tell that there are still a huge gap in understanding employee engagement, although it is very important in our world.
I'll tell you something. This is a concept. This takes me now to 9 years ago. I was sitting with someone called Jamil al-Nasser. He's a veteran training professional. He's been training forever, and I mean it. So we were sitting in one place, and we were discussing different things. I was telling him my plan, what I'm planning to do, and one of the things that at that time I had a few speeches, and one of them was this speech, the 3 R's to employee engagement. And he looked at me and said, "What?" I said, "Engagement, employee engagement." He said, "What's that?" I said, "There are different employees. Employees who like to work, they are engaged, and those who do not like to work." I said, okay, and then? So this is a speech to show them how to engage the employees. I said, okay, and then? I was thinking, either he's not getting the concept or I'm not getting what he wants. I said, okay, and then? I said, okay, if you have employees who are engaged, you get higher level of productivity, lower level of absenteeism, and higher levels of profit. He said, see, now I'm listening to you. Profit. When you are saying employee engagement, as a leader, as a CEO, I don't care. But when you say profit, yes, I'm paying attention. So this is a problem in terminology. If you're an HR professional, you're trying to push the agenda of employee engagement to the CEO, to the board of directors. You don't go with this lower absenteeism and all of. Just start with increase
Pain points.
sales, increase profit, increase cash flows.
Reduce
They like
cost.
these things.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the communication, how you communicate with the other side.
Speaking of this now, and the way I really like the way when I ask you a question, you refer to it with an example and a story itself. I'm astonishing. This is the first time I say it in the camera because you truly answering my questions with true examples that you have lived with.
That's what I said in the beginning. I'm not saying close your eyes, imagine yourself as a lion.
And
No,
you're gonna
no,
be a lion.
no. By the way, I'm drinking this. It's empty, but it's just part of the show.
Is it really empty? Unfortunately, we don't have the butler to come and add more.
No, I still have. But on all these talk shows, they don't drink anything. It's just like,
Actually, one of my friends were asking me, "What was in this drink? Did you drink coffee or something?" I was like, "No, it's only water." It's like, "No, it's water." I was like, "It's only water."
Yeah. You cannot have a good coffee for 2 hours.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Why? It's really inspiring how you put your experiences through, and I can tell the amount of things that you have to go through in order to reach where you are today. But if I ask you this, in your own opinion, what is the really market lagging and why in terms of employee engagement, in terms of getting employees to do their jobs? What do you think the gap between the leader in these companies?
Okay. There is a good phenomenon in Bahrain that's happening. Now you see not many, I would say, few companies displaying that they are a great place to work. Yeah. Now that's something positive, but we need to dig behind it and see how they are getting this badge, great place to work. If they are doing it genuinely, that's good. If they are just doing it for the sake of saying we are great place to work, that's really, really bad. Because they are deceiving the employees, they are deceiving the community, and they are deceiving themselves. So that's one side I want to touch upon. The other side, I think, awareness of leaders, even HR professionals. How many authentic, true, knowledgeable, experienced HR managers we have? It's a tough question to answer. Because if I think in my mind, I can just name a few in my mind. But the rest, they were just pushed to that position. And they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the academic background. They just made it to HR manager. So that's another thing. So you have the leaders, they don't appreciate the employee engagement or the human capital. And you have HR managers or HR directors who are not experienced. And if they are experienced, they don't know how to push the agenda to the CEO and push the agenda to the board of directors. So they are not acting as business partners, as they say. I don't want HR to be just, attendance,
Payrolls,
paperwork. No, it should be more than that. Come on. In finance, they teach you something called DuPont analysis, return on equity. And then they go break this equation into so many other equations. All right? And one way of explaining all of this is that if you have all the resources, cash, machines, buildings, anything you want, but if you don't have the right employees to run all of this asset, your return on equity will always be low. As simple as that. So they need to start explaining how this works to the CEO, managing director, general manager, and the board. If they don't have the story, they don't show how this fits into the agenda. Because let's put it this way: the ultimate goal for any CEO, any board of directors, is to maximize the shareholders' value. their wealth. So if HR doesn't know this, how can they push the agenda? They cannot. So you should come from that perspective. Why we're having employee engagement? Because this will lead to increased sales, revenues, cash flows, lower absenteeism, lower sick leaves, and so many other positive things. All of these things feed into our bottom line, the profit. And when you take the return on equity, you take the profit over the equity. The higher the profit, the higher is the return on equity. And that's how you tell. So that HR should know about finance as well. They should not just know about HR.
Wow. Now, I want to jump into this actually because the way you said something is triggering me. And normally I don't really maneuver this conversation and take it to another level. But there you go. There's something because it's something with me. And since I am in HR professionals and I'm working in HR for almost 5 years after I graduated from UK, the one thing I want to say to you that I had started my background as diploma in finance.
Okay.
And then I moved from finance to HR.
Okay.
And what you just said right now is fascinating with what I believe in because the thesis when I did my master's is specifically to measure UK graduate in conversion. UK graduate, I mean by HR UK graduate, and how many of them are working in the HR, and what is the majority of the people working in HR with their background. So I did a check based on, obviously back in the day, they would give me a chance to do it in my hometown or something like that. But since I was there, I just decided to do it on the UK market. And I had found out in my thesis that majority of people working,
they are not HR back. They don't have HR background.
yes,
Yeah.
they are either psychology or business background, and that's in UK, not in Bahrain.
No, it's even in the Gulf you find that. Even in the Gulf you find that. And to me, someone who has a business background and become an HR is much better than someone who studied HR and became HR manager, because they understand business, and that's the difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. And you brought it on point, although that you didn't even, I'm not sure if you know my process exactly, but you exactly kept it there.
Because I'm in touch with the market, so I know what's happening.
And in your opinion, then, how as a Bahrain market should evolve in this area, especially employee engagement? Because I don't think that many companies are in Bahrain are invested in that perspective. Even I was looking, to be honest, to one of the, because my line of work is to deal with the engagement, not necessarily directly, it's indirectly, but just as a support as well. But I have dived into engagement like very well. And I'm working in a company which has multiple layers of businesses that they are running, and they are really strong in the market. So understanding this, actually, I'm thinking about, for example, one of the tasks I had to do is to find a course in Bahrain teaching employee engagement. Guess what? I have nothing. I didn't find any course in Bahrain.
There was someone who is a professor, I forgot his name. He was in Bahrain a few years back. He had a seminar or a workshop on... in fact, he didn't. It was a different thing. He was doing something on return on training programs. So you're right. I haven't seen any employee engagement. I speak about it, but I haven't seen anyone do a full day workshop on that. And that should not be a problem. For God's sake, we have so many resources. You can go online and find all these resources about employee engagement. If you are part of CIPD, they have so many white papers. You can find all the books, everything is available. It's about taking what you see, what you read, and see what is working and what is not, and implement it. I'll tell you what I did in my finance department. I'm very proud to have built this finance department. I had some very elite employees. And one thing that I did, I bought a book called Accounting Best Practices. So what we did, we assigned each one to a few chapters. So you deal with chapter 1 and 2, you are 3 and 4, you are 5 and 6, and so on and so forth. So the idea was, you go read these chapters and come back after 2 weeks and tell me what ideas we should implement in our company. And let me tell you from now, we don't have a budget. So you bring an idea that will improve work, but it will not increase my cost. Because if you tell me we need to buy this or that, I'll tell you we don't have a budget. But if you get me an idea that will not require us to go to the
To
management
invest.
and ask for a budget, that's something I'll do without their knowledge. Finish. Do it. If I like it, I'll tell you do it. Now, what happens in this process? I, as a manager, feel that I'm proving things, which is good. Because as a manager, as a leader, you should always be dealing with change, changing things to become better and better and better all the time. If you're not changing anything, you're not a leader. Because the world is changing. If you're not changing, there's a problem. Second part, employees who share the ideas and their ideas are implemented, they feel appreciated.
Their
And
voices are
there is
heard.
a higher level of buy-in because they suggested the idea, they want to do it
Correct.
in the company. So it's a small things. You don't have to go for a course. You don't have. Today we have AI. You go to AI and say, okay, we are, for example, a large family business operating in construction, car leasing, and so on, so on. So design a program for 12 months that will elevate the employee engagement for our staff and make it in a quarterly schedule.
Boom.
Boom, finish. So if you're an HR and you're telling me I don't know what to do, come on. Start somewhere, do something. Bring popcorn and give it to all the employees. Just popcorn, you know? So small things. You don't have to invest so much money. You don't have to have $1 million to increase the employee engagement. Yeah, come on. Get me a mug. Get me a mug with my name or with an inspirational quote on it. Finish. That's something. And in Unilever, we had so much change. So one time they brought us a small mirror you can put on the table, and there was a quote on it by Mahatma Gandhi. The quote said, because we were going through change programs, be the change you want to see in the world. So every time you see yourself, you see the quote. And the quote is talking to you. If you're not happy about what's happening in the department in terms of processes, be the change. Change. Simple.
Yeah. But yet I cannot tell like how the things happening in the real world is as the way you're saying it. That's beautiful, fluffy. It seems really nice and cool. But unfortunately, I don't see this is happening.
I'm telling you, it requires a decision. It requires a decision. I'll tell you what was my policy when I was a CFO. I had a scope of freedom, and I used that. If there is something I can do without going back to the board or to the managing director, I'll just do it. I will not wait for them to tell me to do it. I'll just do it. We had improved so many processes over time. We didn't have to go and ask for permission and or wait for someone to tell us what to do. No, we should have this drive that we need to change things. Because if you don't do this as the leader of the department, what do you expect from your team members? They'll just act like you.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you're bad,
You
they'll
the
become
example,
bad.
right?
Yeah, as simple as that.
Yeah.
So in my department, I had a different subculture from the company. Some other employees from other departments, they always said, we wish we were part of your team. Why? Because they saw our culture. It's different from the cultures of other departments. So as a leader, you can create your own culture. Of course, it should not conflict with the overall culture. You should have a culture that is better, perhaps. We were having so much fun, for example. In my department, we were having so much fun. Every quarter, when we finished closing the accounts and publishing the accounts in the newspaper and the stock exchange, we go out together. I'll treat them for grilled fish, grilled shrimps, and all the other things, and I'll just pay with the company credit card. Yeah. So they are happy. They are happy. And to today we meet. Although I left the company, maybe 3 weeks ago, we had a dinner meeting and we were having a good laugh. I think we were eight people.
Wow.
Yeah. So if they didn't like me, they wouldn't come for such dinners meeting. I'm not saying I'm the most loved person in the world, the most loved leader, but I was doing certain things right. That's it.
I don't think, in my perspective, that certain things in comparison to the today's world, what you do is a superb in comparison to what you said. Because the way you're just saying things, and you left 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that. So 9 years ago, and still have a good contact, and you just said 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sure it's you. What you did is so solid for them. I am sure maybe they might have another leader, but they are still.
We will not talk about that.
That's what it seems. I mean, even if they have, but then why would they come to meet you after 9 years? Just tell me why.
Yeah.
It's very solid what you have done.
So I'll tell you something. Let me give a shout out to my brother Ahmed Al-Gattan, who was a managing director for a long time with us in the company, and he used to come out with us. We were in Seif Tower, so we had Seif Mall and Ali Mall next to us. So every Thursday we go out, and there was a Persian restaurant in Ali Mall, and we just go, and all of us will be there. The whole company will be there. But we will go, and you order, you pay for yourself. But sometimes Ahmed will be with us. He'll just walk with us, and suddenly I'll see Ahmed coming to me and handing me something in my hand. Say, Mohamed, today lunch is on me. And I go and stand next to the cashier, and you come and you order. You want to pay? I said, no, this is a treat from Ahmed today. You just saved a few dinars. But more than that, oh, Ahmed, I love this man. He's so good, man. He's treating us for lunch. Does he have to? No. He's so kind. That's it. You build this image. Next employee comes. Again, you say this, you say this. And every time he's paying 200, 300 dinars. It's okay. He sees the other side of the equation. If you care, they will care.
Yeah.
That's why at that time we used to go work in the weekends, and we work late hours. We don't ask for overtime or anything. People were happy working in the company. So that's leadership.
In my opinion, there's lots of lesson learned as a leader and thoughtful leader, someone like you. What is the key leaderships that you didn't know before and you get to know when you reach the positions of leader?
Ask me the question another way. Let me see what you're trying to reach.
So I'm trying to see, how did the philosophy of your leadership has been built and evolved throughout your career?
The foundation is Unilever. As I told you, I worked with Unilever in Dubai and Jeddah. And in Unilever, not anyone can get into Unilever. So in my case, I was in the management faster track. The process went like this. They'll go and find candidates from universities. And they'll gather 800, 1,000 applications. And the application is not a regular application. It's not your name, your address, email. No. It had some deep questions. And just to surprise you, it has 16 pages. If you pass the application, then you go to the psychometric testing. They test your math, they test your English as well. And then you go for 1 full hour interview with the recruiting manager. If you pass all of this, you go to what they call the selection board. Selection board is different activities, panel interviews, single interviews, case studies, activities. It starts from 8 in the morning, finishes at 4 in the afternoon. Okay? So out of 800, we qualified as 8. We went to the selection board. And out of the 8, I was chosen to join Unilever. There were some other Bahrainis who were offered, but they didn't want to leave Bahrain at that time. And that's something else we can talk about. So when you work in such an environment where everyone is very elite, you are bound to take leadership attributes from those who are around you. And that's how I got all these concepts to lead.
Wow. So that has a huge impact
Of
on
course, I worked for 4 years, but I can tell you, I'm still chewing off this experience until today.
why did you leave?
Why I left? Very simple. I wanted to come back to Bahrain because I knew if I stay longer, my salary will be much, 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 much higher, and coming to Bahrain will be very difficult. You will lose so much from your salary. So I didn't want to reach that level because then you become immobile. You cannot leave. And I don't regret that decision. I'm okay. I did okay in my career.
Do you think this 4 years is enough to what you did? Imagine if you stayed there like 6-7 years.
I'll tell you something. I would have stayed longer if I were not in the finance function. Because to be a director in the finance function in Unilever, you will need at least 20 years, 15 to 20 years. I was not ready to wait for 15 years to become a director. I wanted to do it much faster. So one solution to do that, you come to a smaller company. And that's what I did. So when I joined the company at that time, I was the finance and admin director, de facto CFO. And I had only 4 years of experience. But I did so much during that time. Because this is the thing. At that time, in the recruiting process, they were thinking, oh, you're too young for this, you're too young for this.
Yeah, or maybe you don't have an experience for that.
So now if I go back to corporate employment, they may tell me, no, you're too old. I don't think we should take age into the equation of recruitment. Just see whether the guy or the girl has the drive, the fit to perform. That's it. What's the age? Do you know, speaking of Everest, the oldest person to have climbed Everest to date, he was 81 years old. So age is just a number, as they say. Just focus on the qualities, on the drive, on the fit of the experience, and that's it.
Before you jump to Everest, I would like to have some conversation for Everest. I kept this for a purpose. And that's why I didn't mention it at the beginning. Because, by the way, when Mohamed come, he didn't come empty-handed, honestly. And he enriched my library with the box that he brought. Although I wanted to surprise him, I've got 2 books prior to him bringing his box. But then Mohamed bring me this collection
Accelerate
of books.
series.
And also all of these top-notch.
By the way, this is my pic. I took this picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You should know that.
Oh, you should say that. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. That feels like wow.
Yeah.
So before we jump to Everest and what you have done, back when you in the commercial world, and I mean not commercial world, where you're working, you didn't have any idea to write except that investor relation book, isn't it?
I have been always a writer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have been writing since a young age. In Unilever, for example, I was a monthly contributor to the newsletter. And maybe I'll tell you something about this. There is a story to it.
Okay.
So I bought this book in Dubai in 2001. It's called 101 Ways to Promote Yourself. So I went through the index. I did not read the book. I just went through the index and I saw the title of each chapter. And I was circling the activities that I should do. And it talked about networking, for example. It talked about contributing to the company newsletter. And Unilever at that time, they had the newsletter. So we had Unilever Arabia newsletter, and we had the global newsletter. So for Arabia, I was a regular contributor. And I was writing about the values of Unilever, so teamwork and other things. So when the leaders, they read this, this is good, this is good. He's speaking our language. So my name gets circulated to 1,500 people every time I write in the newsletter. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
100% good thing.
Absolutely. So that was part of the PR. People know you. The other thing I did for my PR as well is I went to the training and development manager at that time. His name's Asaf Al-Qureshi. I told him, Asaf, if there is any cross-functional project, I want to be part of that. He said, yeah, sure. So fast forward a few months, he called me to his office. We're doing a study on the communication within the company, and we wanted to be part of the team. I said, yeah, sure. So my job was to go around and talk to people like you and ask them questions. How do you feel the communication is enough in the company? What else we can do? And then I had to collate all these answers and make a presentation. And the presentation went directly to the board of directors. Who was presenting? I was presenting. So now the board of directors, they see, oh, this is Mohamed Isa, huh? Okay. So one time in December 2001, I came to Bahrain for a holiday, and I thought, why don't I do something, an initiative that again will benefit the community and benefit my career as well. So I went to Grant Mitchell. He was the Lipton iced tea brand manager. I said, Grant, I'm planning to conduct a team working activity for one of the sport clubs in Bahrain. Would you care sponsoring this event? I said, yeah, sure. I'll give you cases of Lipton iced tea. I'll give you a banner, t-shirt, caps. I said, that would be wonderful. So I went and I arranged for this. And we took so many pictures. And because Grant knows that I'm writing all the time, he came to me. He said, should write about this. I said, of course I'll write about this. So we wrote about it. And of course it was published in the Unilever Arabian newsletter. But then every Monday we get the global newsletter. And in the email it says, if you have stories to contribute, just email them to this email. I say, okay. It's just an email, right? You don't have anything to lose. So I send them the article with a few pictures. They came back. They replied. They had 11 questions. Tell us more about this, this, and this. And I invited Grant to my desk. I said, Grant, look, we have an opportunity now. And we answered everything. And next Monday, the article comes in the global newsletter. Now that means 250,000 people or employees received that newsletter. And I was in that newsletter. I didn't know I was the first person to contribute to the global newsletter from Unilever Arabia. So I received calls from chairmen, directors, senior managers. And one manager who was working in business development, he gave me an offer to move to business development. He said, leave finance. Your personality is not finance. You should come with us, business development. And I can say, and I can admit to the camera, I made the most stupid decision of my career. I said no. In my mind, I was thinking, I studied accounting for 4 years. I have been dreaming to become a CPA since a young age. Why should I leave all of this and go to business development? So if I moved to business development, I would have stayed more in Unilever because I know I can progress faster than finance. But because I was in finance, I knew I had to wait for 15 and 20 years to get to the director level. So sometimes you as an individual, as a professional, you need to know what's around you, or what kind of career path you want. You need to understand this. If you don't have this awareness, you cannot make proper decisions. Now, although I said it's the most stupid career decision, but I did okay. It's just that when you are in sales, there is no cap on what you can earn. The more you sell, the more commissions you get. That's the beauty of sale.
No, I can just mention one thing, that since you bring this topic, and speaking of finding your path and finding your call, it's two separate things. Finding your call is basically, or finding your passion or something like that, where people are not chasing the, maybe for example, like just like you rightfully said, some of them, or some of the some of the people, they go to chase something that they not necessarily like. They just went because they want to obey their fathers. They
Yeah.
just follow their whatever
Be
it
be a
is.
doctor.
Be a doctor.
Become an engineer. Become
Yeah. And also one of the things that was really resonate with what you just said, because I had an experience with this, because I am an expert as well when it comes to psychometric. And one of the psychometric tools that we have used is OIB, which is occupational interest profile, where then when you do a test, that test will allow you to find out what are the things you're passionate about. And clearly from what you just said right now, you're so passionate about finance, and that's the rationale bit you going to the finance, but then you didn't really find out your true cause. Although then you make it up and then you find your true cause in writing, which led you to a collaboration with one of the authors that really and this is something I never see it. Normally I don't do it in the camera and showcase with what I'm reading, as Larry King.
Yeah.
And so your true cause, if you were there, maybe you will not be able to reach this international level.
No, not at all. As I told you, when you are an employee, there are things that are under your nose that you don't see. Because you are so occupied with the projects, with the daily tasks you need to do. So that's one benefit. That's one upside of being a self-employed individual. You get to be more creative. You can do anything you want. Because it all starts with an idea. You just follow up with the idea and you get good things out of it.
Yeah, I like that. Especially that something to be said off camera, that actually I had a meeting, although I don't know him personally, and I don't remember how on earth he came to my mind. I met Mohamed Isa even prior to launching this podcast, and he inspired me to another level that day. I can remember that words that we had spoken to today.
How many years is that?
I believe it was 2020 maybe.
Yeah, okay.
2021 max.
I remember meeting in the Avenues Mall. That's it.
Exactly. But you inspire me, and I don't remember how I get to know you.
I think it was through LinkedIn. Maybe you came through LinkedIn.
But what was the rationale between me reaching out to you?
I don't know.
And he accepted that, and I met him for a coffee. And I remember you were saying that I will go with my wife. Something will happen to my wife. And I remember it was near Eid time or something like that. And we met at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
I remember that. He said, Mohammed, time is really important. 11 o'clock, I'm waiting in this gate. Yes, and I met you.
Yeah.
And trust me when I say this, you inspire me to do this podcast. Or you are one of the reasons me starting the podcast, because I have the idea. And even though I still remember when you pushed me to be a writer, and you said to me to be, when you not pushed me, I mean influenced me to start my journey as a career, and you said to me, you should do this because this is what I was trying to say to you. And I can't thank you enough for that, Mohammed.
You're most welcome, my friend. You're most welcome.
You know, if I retrieve what happened that time and took your advice and do what I did today, it's all because how you put it through. And I remember where we're talking about, I was questioning you, how would you leave your company? And I remember you told me the struggles you have to go through, especially at the very beginning, when you said, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said the story of 7BD. 7BD or 7 fills or something. Something with 7.
Yeah. It's not 7BD, it's 3.5 BD.
Okay. I tried my best to show you that I was good listener.
It's $3.5 actually. So the stories goes like this. As I told you, you need to be resilient, you need to be patient, you need to be confident in yourself and your ability. Otherwise, you cannot do this. Self-employment is not for everyone. So at one stage, I was so broke. I had 2 accounts. One is saving account, and saving account is supposed to have money, right?
Correct.
As the name suggests. And I had only 670 fills. I had the other account, the current account, which is the account where you issue checks. And I think I had the same, 650 fills. If you take them together, even I remember the dollar amount is $3.5. That's so that was that time, and thankfully now I have more than $3.5 in my account. This is life. It's up and down. It's up and down, but the trend should be always going up. If you're an employee and you don't get promotions, you don't get increments, what else would you do? Nothing. But for me, I can get creative. Okay, what can I do to get more money into my bank account? Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me try this. Let me try that. I like trying things.
And you like to take risk.
Of course. If you are not a risk taker, you will not try things. You will avoid trying things. No. Let's not touch this.
Yeah, let
Okay?
me be in
Yeah.
comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, what makes you then move from this and what you have done when it comes to the publishing your works to take it to a whole new level and do something like Everest? What is the main drive for that?
All right. I think the trip to Nepal in May 2022 was a trip I should have taken earlier. That's what I can tell you, because this trip really changed my life in so many ways. And as a speaker, as an author, I knew before going to this trip, I would bring something out of it. So before leaving home, before leaving to Nepal, I had opened 2 new folders. One I called Everest Speech. The other is called Everest Book. So when I came from that trip, the first thing I did was to create a bookmark about the trip. That was the first thing I published. Then I thought, let me publish the travel book I have been holding for a long time. I have this book, small one.
Yeah.
The idea was I wanted to document my travels and just give a glimpse of what I did. So I thought after this trip to Nepal and Everest, I should dedicate a section to the trip. And this is what I did. And this is the second publication. Then you have this card, the card we discussed.
Yeah.
The What's Your Everest card. And then in April, I went to Nepal again and I took this picture of the Himalayas. And in May, I was giving the Everest speech in Oman, one day in Arabic, one day in English. And usually when I go to Oman, I have so many friends to the extent that I hide that I'm in Oman. I don't announce anything because they will come, they will want to treat me for lunch, for dinner, for breakfast, for tea. So I wouldn't have time to do anything else. So I thought when I finish the conference, then I'll tell them I'm here. So I told the first one, oh, sorry, Mohamed, I'm about to travel. The other person, I'm getting ready to travel. Oh, we have Eid coming and we are shopping for the Eid. Sorry, man, I wish I... And I found myself sitting alone that day. And I had my trip in the evening. So I had to fill the day. So I was in a hotel, which is joined by a mall. And I knew the other mall is better than the mall, which is joined to the hotel. So I went to the other mall and I went to the bookstore looking for a book. They didn't have the book I was looking for, so I went back to the other mall, next to the hotel. They didn't have that book. I knew that the first mall has a better book collection, so I went back. I said, okay, I know my hands are feeling itchy. I need to buy a book. So I looked at the books. And there was one book that really got my attention. It's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I thought, this is very interesting. Let me see this book. When I see these books, I know the authors would be given formulas, processes, steps,
Action plans.
I like buying these books, even if I don't make a million. So I took this book. I just opened the book, and there was a model, 7 levels of business. So I thought, this is an amazing model. This is a good book. This page is enough for me. And I thought, no, let me look at other books. So I kept looking in the books, and ultimately I bought this book. And I'm very lucky that I bought it. So I went to the cashier. I said, I want to pay for this book. It was 14 Omani riyals. I said, I need a pencil. He said, we don't sell a single pencil. We sell cases of pencils. I told him, look, there is a pencil behind you. I want that. And if you have a sharpener, sharpen it. So I took the book. I looked for a coffee shop in the mall. I found one coffee shop that was so big and so empty. I was the only one there. So I sat. I like to scribble on books. And as I flipped through the pages, there was a diagram, a triangle. And I said, okay, this is like Everest. This is like Everest. Okay, maybe I can make a model like this. So I looked at a Filipino gentleman on the counter and I asked, do you have an A4 sheet? He said, yes. I said, can I get one? And he got me the sheet. Then I looked at him and said, I have a pencil, but I need a pen. Do you have a pen? He said, yes. And he was smiling. Then I looked at him and said, by any chance, do you have a ruler? And he brought the ruler. So I sketched a triangle and I divided the triangle into 6 levels. 6 or 5? 5. Base camp, camp 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 levels.
Yeah.
I went to Fiverr.com. I hired a freelancer and I told him, I have this model. I want you to make a nice design. It should be about a mountain. So he gave me the first design. I gave him around 22 comments. Then ultimately we created this. Now,
you can show it to the camera.
Speaking of ideas, this is an idea. But it's not the idea. It's what you do with the idea. Now, if you ask me, I have my speech. I can make it a workshop, 1-day workshop. But now with this card, I can make it 5 days workshop. So each day I can speak about one level. And when I do this, can you imagine how unique is this course? Because you don't have people talking about mountains or mountain climbing and linking it to leadership. And that's how you distinguish yourself. When I left my job, I met someone in the BIBF. There was a public lecture and I was there. And because I was a CFO, they announced my resignation everywhere, in the newspaper, in the stock exchange, here in Bahrain, in Kuwait. So everyone knew I left my job. So this gentleman saw me and he said, what you'll do now? What you'll do?
Writing books? Traveling around?
I said, I'll be going to the training and conference industry. So do you know how many Bahrainis are trainers? I said, how many? He said, the whole of Bahrain. Everyone is acting like a trainer. I said, okay. Can you tell me who are the top 5 trainers in Bahrain? I said, you answered me. Thank you. I don't care how many trainers are in Bahrain.
Correct.
I care about how to make myself a unique, an exceptional, a phenomenal trainer, speaker. I should not think too much about who else is a trainer, who else is an author, who else is a speaker. Just focus on yourself. Don't focus on others. Be the best you can be. Simple.
Yeah, I know. I can tell how you involve really much into reading, and that's why I didn't ask you lots of questions about reading, because you just said it. From the age of 18, you were studying psychology, for God's sake. That itself shows the determination and willingness to learn and to capture
I think we are very lucky, because our age, our generation, we had all these good magazines like Majid magazine, and when you get this magazine, it's a fabulous magazine. The other, unfortunately, underrated magazine we have in the Arab world is the Al-Arabi. Al-Arabi magazine is published from Kuwait. It's like the National Geographic magazine, except it's in Arabic. They publish it in Kuwait, and it's very, very subsidized. It's only 500 first, but the amount of information you get is too much. So it's all about reading. And I have heard this statement many, many times. Leaders are readers. Leaders are readers. There are few CEOs in Bahrain, they retired now, all of them, they retired, that they read. When you go to their offices, they read. You will see stacks of books. You will see Harvard Business Review magazine, HBR, on their desk. You'll see other magazines, Fortune, Forbes, Business Week, Economist. And all of them, they were high performance CEO. So reading can really transform your career, how you think, how you achieve. And I remember seeing one of these CEOs in one of my trips to Dubai, and I gave him one of my books. And I was flying economy, he was flying business, and he took time to wait for me. When he thanked me again for the book and said, Mohamed, I already started reading the book. I'm in chapter 3 now. Good book. See?
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a habit you build. If you don't read, good luck.
In today's DNA, and with the advancement, such as just like you said earlier in the podcast about the AI and the things, and even writing itself, how do you think this is evolving more? Because clearly that reading books is not the way for a lot of people. And imagine the new generation right now.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, and especially also if we can touch upon this as well, there is like the voice over text, like the old books, and then you can find
there are many ways
library,
now.
and then there is this, I saw it one of the time in the Amazon, what's it called this?
Kindle,
yeah. So there is ways and ways evolving with that.
See, I'll tell you something. You can listen to podcast, but when you listen to podcast, you cannot develop your vocabulary because you don't see the words. And in the business world, you write a lot. You write emails, you write reports, you create presentations, and they are all written. Okay? And if you are relying on AI all the time, good luck in the future. Because what happens when there is no internet connection? What happens if the AI servers are down? And now you cannot do anything. Use your brain, don't lose it.
I would like to quote something, and it is special thanks. It's not a special thanks to one of the people who really inspire me and makes me a public speaker and really shape my future to even start this podcast itself. Is none other than DTM Abdel Nabil Wardi.
Yeah.
And one of the things he used to say to me when he brought this point is that
use your mind.
Whenever you don't use your mind, it will become absolute. So what about this one? What about this one? You learn something in your head, but you don't learn it with your mouth. So you should think about your mind and how to improve your mind.
Yes.
And I can totally agree with
you. And
you.
I'll tell you something. The older you get, your nerves, if you don't use them, the nerves and the mind, if they are not used, they become better when they are used.
Actually, yeah.
So if you don't use them, good luck. See how many times I say good luck tonight.
But this is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually the conversation is really, really, I find it inspiring. There's lots, and especially if I refer this, and like I said in the beginning of this podcast, this episode is 23, and something always stood with me with these people. I find them inspiration in what they do as a sportsman and other athletes.
Yeah.
So
I'm very happy to be here.
Having you, Mohammed, is a true pleasure, especially
and trust me, my age is 23.
Not only that, the only thing I want to say is I was astonishing with your way of answering the questions. You actually kept me empty-handed because every time I ask a question, you give me a story, and with the story you give an example, then you give the moral of the story. There's literally no follow-up question I should ask after that. I'm like, what else should I ask you? He's answering everything.
Let him just talk.
Let him just talk. The floor is yours. But unfortunately, there is always an end for something, and I wish I could take it more further. Perhaps maybe have another podcast in let's say 100 episodes or something like that.
After I climb 2 more mountains.
Yeah. which will bring me to your future goals. This is something I want to touch up on because you've done many episodes throughout your career. I was amazed of the numbers of episodes you've done in Bahrain itself. So, what are your future goals looks like?
Okay, let's talk about my 7 Summit Challenge. 7 Summit Challenge. There is this challenge I heard about in May 2022 when I was in Nepal, where climbers climb the highest mountain in each of the continents. So 7 continents, 7 mountains. I'm happy that I have climbed Mount Kosciuszko, the highest one in Australia. I'm the first Bahraini to do that. I just came from Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, the highest mountain in Africa. They call it the roof of Africa. Next on the agenda is Mount Elbrus in Russia. And then the list goes on and on until I finish the 7th. Now, many people ask me, why do you do this? So there are 2 levels of answers. The first answer, which I tell everyone, is that if I want to go and climb a mountain, I should be fit, right?
100%.
So is being fit bad or good?
Good.
All right, that's question number 1. Question number 2, if I want to climb mountains, I have to make more money because climbing mountain costs money. So if I make more money, is it good or bad?
Good.
Of course, good. Yeah. So that's the answer I give to people. The deeper answer, just a little bit, we'll touch on the surface. All of us, we have a start date and an expiry date. What do you do in between will make your life either a life worth living or a life that is just passing. Because you hear about so many people who work in certain companies or in the public sector, and they are very proud. They will tell you, I have 30 years of experience. 30 years of experience of doing what? The same thing over and over and over and again. I think it's very appropriate we end this session or recording of this podcast with this thought. In the Holy Quran, there is the verse of Prophet Joseph about the drought in Egypt for 7 years, and there is the harvest season for 7 years. I think any professional should reinvent themselves every 7 years. You need to work on that gradually. So Mohamed 7 years ago was totally different. Hopefully 7 years from now, I'll be totally different. And you should always reinvent yourself. As we speak now, I'm cloning myself as an AI. In the future, you will go to our website called mohamedisa.ai. You can talk to me. You can ask questions, I'll answer you as if Mohamed Isa was with you. So we need to cherish the past, focus on the present, and prepare for the future. And the way you prepare for the future is you reinvent yourself. You cannot be the same person 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years over. If you are the same person, you're not going forward, you're going backward.
Wow. What an amazing way to end this podcast with a great, thoughtful leader, speaker, author, best-selling author actually in Amazon and other stuff. And most importantly, adventurer, risk taker, and a winner, in my opinion, in my perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time watching this channel, do subscribe to the channel, and I'll make sure to link all the social media handles for Mr. Mohamed Isa in the description below. I would love to from your support to help us to reach a bigger audience, and my promise is that bigger the channels get, the better audience gets. And today it was a privilege to have Mohamed Shikri with the number 23 as a special. Thank you so much, Mohamed Isa. Mohamed Isa. What a really way to end this podcast. So thank you so much, Mohamed. I wish you all the best. I'm looking forward to your next achievement when you achieve your 7 mountains climbs.
Thank you
all
so
the
much.
best, Mohamed. And see you soon.
Thank you.